taking over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast. Yeah, like, I'm trying to talk myself into it. Like, are the Dolphins legit tonight with the points or against the Rams? And I said it earlier in the show. They remind me of the Jets. They remind me of the Bears. And I am just not falling for these crappy teams that, like, I was all over Arizona against the Jets. I was all over Arizona against the Bears. Right? Like, and they kick both their asses. And then, like, I'm looking at this team that doesn't win. And what? Against a team that's hot, that's winning, that has a great quarterback, that's playing at home in prime time? Really? So tonight they're going to fold up shop and lose to this crappy team? That's why I just can't buy it. Now, I'll eat the hoagie sandwich tomorrow if I'm wrong. Do you feel that I'm crazy?
I don't feel that you're crazy. And yes, I know that sometimes we sit here every day and we look at these games and it gets you a little nervous when everybody's on one team, right? And everybody's on the Rams tonight. And I understand that. But I think that sometimes you just got to look at it as they're a lot better than them right now.
It is what it is.
The Rams are a lot better than them right now. This has gone back to 2.5. Now, there was some shifting the other day. It was 1.5. Now it's back to 2.5. Is Tyreek Hill going to play? I mean, who knows? I actually think he is. He usually goes. I mean, it's very rare that you don't.
Is that the difference? They're gonna win by 2, and you're gonna get burned. Is that what it is?
No, I mean, I don't think so. I don't think it's gonna be with that. I think the Rams will be able to take care of business. I also actually like the over tonight. I think that we'll score some points. The Dolphin D hasn't been great this year. I think the Ram offense runs much better, obviously, when both Kupp and Puka Shells are out there, which you're going to get tonight. So I kind of like the over. And with Tua back in there, we saw this last week against the Bills, right? I mean, Miami's going to be able to score some points with Tua back at the helm. So I think this over, which has gone down a couple points, it was 50 the other day. It's 48.5 now. But I think that's based on them thinking that Hill might not be out there. So I like the over more than anything, and I'll go with you on the Rams for this game this evening. Now, one thing I will factor in, and I always have to give you something that makes you think about your selection, is the dogs this weekend. They barked, no doubt about it. 10-3 against the spread for the underdogs here in week number 10. Does that make it 11-3 tonight with Flipper? I'm going to say no. I need a drink. But I always have to give you that. I have to give you that. How about touchdowns instead? Why don't we do some touchdowns
here on this show?
Let's do touchdowns instead because I think that's going to be a lot more fun for us. We did get Allen yesterday. We got Pickens yesterday. So we had a couple from our Sunday list that were able to get across the board. I think I like the over tonight. That means I give you 4 instead of 3. Puka Shells for the first tutty at 9-1 tonight. Got thrown out of the game last week, if you remember. Got tossed. I think that Puka's going to have a huge night, get himself back involved. Now, I know Tyreek, we don't know yet. Obviously, if Tyreek's not playing, we're not playing. But if he's in, Scotty, I'm in at plus 140. He hasn't caught one
in 7 weeks.
That's why I'm in. If he's playing, we'll get him in the end zone. Mostert, huge fumble last week, got chained to the bench after that. The number's a little, plus 220 for a guy who's usually in the 125, 130 range because of the fear that he's not going to play. I think McDaniel still gives him a shot, hopefully at the goal line as well, plus 220 for him. And Demarcus Robinson. Whoa. I know the attention's on Kupp and Puka Shells. This guy's been catching big touchdown passes the last few weeks from Stafford, including the overtime winner last week against Seattle. He had 2 touchdowns in that game. So a nice big price for Robinson here tonight. For the Rams. That's where I'm spreading out the tutties tonight.
Well, listen, I was excited yesterday because I think Friday, I know for sure I gave you Freiermuth, but I may have given you Williams too. In his first game, I said, watch him throw to Williams. So they both scored tutties and Pickens. We had all 3 of them. So we were ringing the bell like crazy yesterday, which is always great for everybody that watches coast to coast, obviously.
We love that indeed. And as we transition to the college football stuff now here, The Miami Dolphins need to save Florida tonight. And what I mean by that is, Scotty, Florida's football teams this past weekend, NFL and college, are a combined 0-11.
What?
FAU, Florida, Miami, Florida State, USF, UCF, Florida A&M, Bethune, Stetson, the Jaguars, and the Bucks have all lost. It's never happened before
in the
state of Florida, but the Dolphins could save Florida tonight if they could get a win in LA against the Rams.
I've seen that happen before ever. Every single
never
team
happened.
In the state. It's
never happened.
That is insanity. It really is truly insanity. There's no way the Dolphins are winning tonight.
Make it a perfect 0-12. Very possible for them later this evening.
Jinx is on.
Jinx is on. And that will lead us into college. You started a little bit with it with Jerry earlier, but let's roll through all the Saturday action. Number 8, Indiana beat Michigan 20-15. Indiana 10-0 for the first time in program history. Needed defense on Saturday to get it done against the Wolverines, but they also needed a little bit from Curtis Rourke on CBS.
Of Michigan. Rourke straight drop this time. Gonna go long. Airs it. Got a man there. Got it. Elijah Surratt. Touchdown. 36 yards.
Cream and crimson in the battle. Slow down.
Love it. Gotta have it right there.
They're in Columbus.
Yeah, look. Here's the thing. Is their defense good enough to keep them in that game? I think that's what it's all about. Can they hold the Buckeyes to 27 instead of 47? That's where the game is for me. Because if they do, I think their offense is good enough.
And Michigan stopped them. What do you think Ohio State's defense is going to do to them?
Yeah,
they haven't played anybody this year. Let's face facts. The reason why they're ranked 5th is because they're undefeated and because their offense is 2nd in the country in scoring and their defense was top 5 in everything across the board in college football. It does not matter who you play. When you beat everyone's ass, blow everyone out, and shut people down like a water faucet, that's why you're ranked. And you heard Jerry Palm say it. But if Michigan can push them around with their 5-14 going into that game now, 5-5, but they shut them down in that second half. What do you think Ohio State's going to do to them?
I understand, but look, they can lose this game and still get in. But they can't lose this game by 50 and still get in. They have to be competitive with the Buckeyes in this game, because if they aren't and they beat Purdue and they're 11-1 and everyone's going to sit there and go, yeah, they played no one this year and the one team they played, they got their ass beat. They shouldn't be in. If they fight with the Buckeyes, this is a legit 11-1 team that deserves a berth into this 12-team playoff. It's a huge game, and Cignetti knows that too. We're not telling him something he doesn't know, that he's got to be able to hang with the Buckeyes for this game. We'll come back and hear from Mario, Big Chest Cristobal after the loss to Georgia Tech. We've got Lane Kiffin on Ole Miss. Did you see the Utah athletic director?
Yes.
After they were robbed in the middle of the night in the BYU game. But were they? Certainly looked like a defensive holding to me on that play. Certainly looked like it.
So we'll hear from him later. Great.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
together, both Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid, Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Are they definitely done with Daniel Jones from this point? And any shot that Dable is off the sidelines, meaning he gets fired before next season?
They have a general manager in Joe Shane. Every big move has to get approval by ownership. So, look, the bottom line is they don't know who their future quarterback is past this season. Tommy DeVito's clearly not the answer. They don't have it. Drew Lock's not the answer.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
A lot of concern, I would say, for Georgia in Carson Beck. 3 interceptions. Once again. His third 3-interception game in the last 5 for UGA.
You can argue if they had Alex Orji as their starting quarterback for Georgia, they would be perfect and unbeaten right now just by not turning the football over and running it with your talented backfield.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Yeah, the Canes loss sickened me, Carver High, after a perfect season. Obviously, it's always a shot to the temple that knocks you out flush, and you lose that first game, especially after going 9-0. It's always devastating.
It is always devastating, and bottom line is they just couldn't stop Georgia Tech on the ground all day. I mean, Georgia Tech just ran the ball down their throat, and it looked like, I was with you, when they got the ball back with under 2 minutes to go down 5, I thought, here we go. In fact, I jumped on Miami Live. I said, here, he's going to come down the field and he's going to win this game. Strip sack, boom, finished. Just over at that point, and they didn't get it done. Here is Mario, big chest, Cristobal afterwards on the loss.
Got to own every bit of it, all of us. You know, it's in this profession, when you take one on the chin like that, you got to be a grown man. You got to own it. There's no finger pointing. There's no, and by that I mean starting, of course, with myself and every coach on the staff and every player. You just own it, and you don't talk about it very much. You got to just go do something about it. We have a bye week with everything in front of us to play for, to do something about it, and to make sure that, as sick as everyone's feeling, that I hope we all feel sick to the point where it drives us to be better, because certainly that was not our best football, nowhere near it.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. They lost. They had every chance, even though they played crappy, to win the game. They had the ball with 2:25 left, and I think the best quarterback in the country, and he got hit and fumbled. That was it. So it is what it is. They still have to, finish and handle their business. And I have said repeatedly on this show that game at Syracuse is a problem. A quarterback and on the road against that's what beat them on Saturday. Haynes King, the running game, and now they're going to see it again. A good quarterback with a team that wins. I mean, didn't they just win again in overtime over the weekend? I mean, all they do is pull games out of their arse. So Syracuse is tougher than people think.
Well, look, they have obviously got 2 conference games left, Miami. They are home for Wake Forest and at Syracuse. Clemson only has 1 conference game left, which is at Pitt this week. So Pitt can do Miami some favors. Pitt's falling apart. And SMU has 3 conference games left as they play Boston College, Virginia, and Cal. Their
Those
last
are
3
brutal
games. Yes, and I believe it's if SMU trips up and they get to 1 loss and it's a 3-way tie with the 1 loss, I believe the Canes make the title game in that scenario with the 3-1 loss team. So, they got to take care of their business and hope everything works out for them going forward and get themselves back into that playoff mix. All right, SEC, we had those 2 huge games on Saturday. How about Alabama just destroying LSU in this game? I mean, this game was not even close. They completely mauled them from the start as 42-13 was the final. Jalen Milroe, he ran for 186 and 4 touchdowns. Man, Brian Kelly, can you try to explain that to us? Let's see if you can.
Look, if you're watching the game, you're like, what did these guys do for 2 weeks? Like, we have a scheme to stop the quarterback. We did not get that done.
No,
you got that
no,
right,
you didn't.
Coach. Now, look, they're going to start turning on him in Baton Rouge. As sure as I'm sitting here, they don't tolerate down there losing 3-4 games. Okay? So they are going to turn on him. And remember, Orgeron won a title with Burrow, and he got out of Dodge because he knows you lose down there, I mean, they'll kill you. And I think, I've always said to you, I think Brian Kelly made the biggest mistake of his life leaving Notre Dame. He had it all in South Bend, and he got nothing now down in Baton Rouge. He's losing his reign. Honestly, he's losing the grip on that rope real quick. It's real slippery, that rope.
He would have been, if he wanted to be, he could have been the Notre Dame coach really for his life if he wanted it. I believe.
I believe
they would have been fine with him winning 10, 11 games every year, making the playoff every year. Even if obviously it would have been nice if he chipped in a national title once in a while. But I'm with you.
He played for him.
He played precisely, and
he ain't playing for nothing down there.
They are very quick to throw you to the fire down there, as you said, very, very quick. Ole Miss got themselves back involved in a big way with that win over Georgia on Saturday, 28-10. Huge win for Lane Kiffin. Of course, his father, Monty, passed a couple months ago. And this was a game that Lane says that his dad would have absolutely been proud of him, the way the defense showed up for the Rebs.
I know he's watching, and he loved these type of games and big games. And I thought about him a lot this week. And I was like, man, if we win this thing, like, he'll be so happy. Because he was always like last year after that, he's like, hey, we're going to get this turned around. I remember him saying after the game, we're going to get this thing turned around and you're going to beat Georgia next year. And it was really kind of, we beat him in his style. Great defense, dominant defensive performance, kind of mushy offense and field goals. And so he's happy about that performance.
I think they're legit, man. Their defense is straight up nasty, and I think they're a legit contender in that playoff. When you have a quarterback like Dart, talent, speed, and then you have a defense that's even better than all of that, which is exactly who they are. Their defense is the epitome of their success, and everything else just gets it done. I mean, this is one of the toughest, 2-loss teams in the country. They can beat anybody. They just kicked Georgia's ass. They beat their ass physically.
They certainly did, no doubt. We'll come back, and I will rip through the rest of these. I'll give you a couple right now. Ohio State, no problem. They covered against Purdue. Notre Dame, 52-3 over FSU. And then Norvell fires the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator, the wide receivers coach. Another guy running out of people to blame in Tallahassee after this year.
Why don't they fire him?
together, both Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, it's going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid, Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
A lot of concern, I would say, for Georgia in Carson Beck. 3 interceptions. Once again, his third 3-interception game in the last 5 for UGA.
You can argue if they had Alex Orji as their starting quarterback for Georgia, they would be perfect and unbeaten right now just by not turning the football over and running it with your talented backfield.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Tell you, Mike, I think the ones that I was surprised about in terms of getting tickets ripped up on Saturday and burned on was Virginia against Pitt.
Yeah.
And then Boise didn't cover that big number, so everybody was right about Nevada. And then the other one that got me was I was on Texas Tech in Lubbock, and they got smoked by Colorado. And then finally Kansas beating Iowa State at Arrowhead. I never saw that coming either.
That was absolutely brutal. I loved Iowa State on Saturday, and Iowa State got. I mean, that score actually wasn't even that close. Iowa State got destroyed in that game at Arrowhead by Kansas. They stink. Texas beat Florida, no problem. Army, really a low-scoring battle. The total was like in the 60s, and they won 14-3, but they're still undefeated. They won't be in a few weeks when they play Notre Dame at Yankee Stadium. So that undefeated is going to end for Army in short order. The Clemson game, as you mentioned, against Va-Tech. Colorado, it's so weird, right? Like last year, everybody, kind of they were on all the time, and they sucked. And now, I feel like this year, we haven't heard of Deion in weeks, and they're in the driver's seat, to get to the Big 12 title game and maybe get a chance to get into that playoff. So, and we know how good Shedeur and Travis Hunter have been for the Buffaloes. So they have had a great season, and they got a chance to get into that playoff now. Oregon didn't cover against Maryland. Did you see the end of the Missouri game?
Yes.
With Oklahoma?
Scoop and score.
What a gag job by Oklahoma altogether. I mean, they let Missouri tie the game, first of all, which was awful. And then the kid dropping the football and Missouri picking it up and bringing it back to the yard. Unbelievable. Penn State, Franklin does what he always does. Pump up the boosters and let them go to the window with a cover against Washington. Genty had 209 and 3 tutties, but Boise did not cover that huge piece, as you just mentioned, against Nevada. Virginia with the win. I love that Washington State team. They barely covered the number against Utah State. And the Holy War late night. And if you stayed up to the end of this thing,
I
did. And this was some game. So BYU wins 22-21. Now Utah had a 21-10 lead at the half, an 11-point lead on BYU, and they let them come back in the second half. BYU takes the lead. Actually, after they were down, what was it, Sky? They were down 21-18, or I forget what they were down, but BYU drove to kick the field goal. There was an awful defensive holding call on Utah on a fourth down that would have ended the game. Game finished. Rarely do you see the athletic director go and talk to the media after the game. Let's just say that your boy here, Mark Harlan, was not happy for Utah afterwards.
This game was absolutely stolen from us. We were excited about being in the Big 12, but tonight I am not. We won this game. Someone else stole it from us. Very disappointed. I will talk to the commissioner. This was not fair to our team. I'm disgusted by the professionalism of the officiating crew tonight.
I think he's disgusting right there with all of his comments. You know what? Then leave. Then leave the Big 12, tough guy. You blame the Big 12 for your team piking. You were up 21-10 at the half. And how about this? It was a holding. It was the right call. And secondly, they went down the field in 3 plays on your ass to kick the winning field goal. Blame yourselves. You're a loser and a sore loser. I have never seen anything like what I just watched, that athletic director embarrassing himself really on national television. And I saw that running on whatever. All these networks ran the clip the other day. I think he's the embarrassment, not the other way around.
Well, Brett Yormark, who, of course, is the commissioner of the Big 12, he had a response today.
Yeah,
he had a response to Mark today. They have publicly reprimanded Mark Harlan for all his actions. Additionally, he will be issued a $40,000 fine for what he did. Now, remember, I'm sure Mark makes a lot of money, but he don't make player money. $40,000 to Mark probably is a little slice.
His wife loves that. The $40,000. Forget about that Fendi bag you were going to buy.
$40,000 Yormark slapped him with. So
he deserved it.
What they've had an awful year. What a shame for Utah.
They were favored to win the Big 12, and they've been getting their ass beat the whole season. You're a loser, dude.
Together, both Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the 2 big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, it's going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid, Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
A lot of concern, I would say, for Georgia in Carson Beck. 3 interceptions once again. His third 3-interception game in the last 5 for UGA.
You can argue if they had Alex Orji as their starting quarterback for Georgia, they would be perfect and unbeaten right now just by not turning the football over and running it with your talented backfield.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Mike, I got to tell you, I think that guy Harlan had it coming. I thought it was really pathetic and weak, that whole diatribe he just went on after that game. And then Winningham did the same thing to coach. He went up there slamming chairs and, leave the conference if you don't like it. And I think everything Yormark did, he had it coming, and they should have given him more. It should have been 100,000. I thought that was really weak. I've never seen an athletic director behave like that in college sports that I can remember. I've seen coaches go on and snap on refs and everything. I've never actually seen an athletic director, who's supposedly the guy in charge of the program, go and embarrass himself like that. I thought it was really a bad look for him. Without a doubt, he got everything he had coming today served to him ice cold by Yormark. Brett Yormark don't mess around. He's run a lot of things besides that Big 12. Believe me, you.
And there was even video of him before the press conference. He went out on the field at the end of the game and got in the ref's faces, and you saw him pointing a finger at the ref and giving the ref the business. So your boy Mark,
what's wrong with you? What is wrong with you?
He was off the handle.
Is he going to punch somebody? And what are you going to blame the Mormons?
I guess so. Here is your AP Top 25 for this week. Now, remember, the Crack Crab and Lobster Committee will put their new rankings out tomorrow night. Those are the ones that actually matter. But 4 of the top 5 teams from the Big Ten, Oregon, Ohio State at 1-2, Penn State and Indiana at 4 and 5, Texas is in at number 3. Georgia falls all the way to 11. First time they have been out of the top 10 since 2020. I will say I was a little surprised they fell so much. I mean, they didn't lose to Vanderbilt. They lost to the Canes tumbled too. But look, Georgia Tech, I get they're a 5-4 team, whatever they are now. Like
6
Ole Miss is good. Like that was a good team that Georgia lost to on Saturday. But I got no problem with that. Push them on down. Keep them down.
I'm sick of Georgia playing in every national championship game. Thanks so much.
Me too. I don't have any problem with that either. So there you go. The college will do a lot more tomorrow. We'll start to look at this week's games, including Georgia has to get right back at it. They play Tennessee this week, and at Between the Hedges. So that's the big game on the college schedule.
They're not losing at home to Tennessee.
I agree with you. I don't think they're going to. Tennessee has not been overly impressive since they beat Alabama. They have had some
I mean, they play every game in Knoxville. I mean, let's see them go to Athens, to Stanford Stadium, and see what happens to them.
Indeed. All right, there you go with the college. How about NBA now from the weekend and for tonight? We do have a couple games for you. Celtics beat the Bucks. You talked to Bill Michaels about that earlier. The Bucks suck. Let's just call it. And I don't know if you saw this or not. Did you see Giannis after the game Friday night at the Garden?
Yeah.
Basically going off, really killing the team. And it's starting to get louder fairly quickly because of how badly they've sucked.
Yeah.
He might ask out there in Milwaukee. And, man, that would be a massive – I don't think it'll happen anytime soon.
The party's over for him there.
And you know what? He can leave. He got them a title. He won them a championship. Nobody could say he's leaving and didn't get the job done there. But I'm with you. I think it's time for him. He's going to be looking for greener pastures. And by those greener pastures, they're either South Beach. I've seen people say Brooklyn. You think Giannis to go to Brooklyn, play for the Nets? I don't know. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Didn't he see what happened to the last 3 superstars that showed up in Brooklyn? What happened to them?
Yeah, but you know what? I think Giannis is a little – here's one thing I'll say. He's a little different than those guys in the fact that I don't think he cares about anonymity and not being cared about in the town. He plays in Milwaukee. So I think he'd be all right. Like Durant and Kyrie, like they wanted recognition and spotlight and all those. I don't think Giannis would care about that, being second fiddle in Brooklyn with the Nets. But I don't think it would happen anyway. Knicks lost to the Pacers last night, 132-121. You had the Sixers beat the Hornets in overtime.
There's something wrong with the Knicks.
Yeah.
And then my buddy was at that Sixer game. They finally win a game, and McClain had 27. But the key to that game for me was LaMelo, 38 points. He had 6 threes. This guy is something else every night to watch play basketball. He really is. It's too bad they lost because that guy went off.
He did go off, indeed. Warriors beat the Thunder 127-116, so they're 8-2 now as they got that win against the Thunder. Curry lighting it up. Joker had 37, 18, and 15 in the Nuggets win over the Mavs. That guy's been ridiculous over the first couple of weeks of the season.
Little floater from the elbow.
Little floater. Lakers beat the Raptors last night, late night, 123-103. LeBron had triple-doubles on Friday and last night for the Lakers this weekend. And did you see Bronny's stat line in the G League in that first game that he played?
Yes.
6 points, and he went 2 for 10 from the field. That's not ideal. 2 for 10
Sounds
from
like
the
one
field
of my
in the
league
G
games,
League.
except I went 4 for 4 from the field and had 8 points. Your boy had 6 points on 2 of 10. He's a disaster.
He really is. Now
I told
injury
you
time.
I score more than him.
Injury time in the NBA. Here we go. It's that time of year, and actually we have a couple of the regulars here in the injury corner. It never ends with Zion. Zion Williamson suffered a hamstring strain. He's out indefinitely. Now, we should be able to bet on that at these books. An over-under date of when will Zion get hurt. Like, they should set a date, whether it's December 1st, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Like, give us a date because he sets the under every single year. The Slim Reaper, who was out to a great start.
Same thing.
Always hurt. He was on fire as well.
It's always the calf every year.
He has a calf injury. This year it's the left. He'll be reevaluated in 2 weeks. But the biggest one was Holmgren, Chet Holmgren, with the hip fracture. 8 to 10 weeks before he can even. That's before he can even do anything on a basketball court. So he actually won't be back until even later than that.
I hear it's like a pelvic fracture, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess when that little bone under there right behind the hip with the pelvic. Either way, finished for Chet Holmgren. Very unfortunate there. The Warriors will honor Klay Thompson's return to the Chase Center by giving away captain's hats. I'm sure everybody will be running out to get one of those. The captain's hats. Because I guess that's because he always drove the boat to the game. Is that why?
He used to ride his kayak in the bay, all across from Sausalito over to the game. He'd row his little kayak.
I saw him once on a speedboat too, flying along. He's got a bunch of aquatic means of travel that he used to take to the Warrior games.
When I lived there, I was always scared because I used to be under the impression when I lived in San Francisco that if you anywhere swimming from Alcatraz, you'd be dead. And then if you fell off of the people jump off the Golden Gate Bridge, right? They try to end their lives, if you will. And then they're eaten by sharks. So they say that there's so many sharks in that water. And I'd be like this, whenever I went down to the marina, I'd be like, yeah, man, I'm not putting my foot in the water. I don't care about the seals. I don't want anything to do with this bay. I'm done. I used to drive over the Bay Bridge. I'd be scared to death. You know why? Because you remember when the earthquake hit and people drove into the water? Every time I was on it, I was scared. Whenever I was on the Golden Gate Bridge, I was scared. When I'm on the GW, Mafia and I used to drive on it. It shakes up and down, and I'd be like, Jesus, this thing's going to fall one day for sure. Oh, God.
They were built so long ago, too. That's the thing. Built so long ago. All right, we have 5 games in the NBA tonight. We'll come back, and we'll give you those. We have college basketball games tonight that we have to give you as well.
What about hockey? Is there hockey?
That, too. Yes, there is. together, both Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, it's going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid, Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
A lot of concern, I would say, for Georgia in Carson Beck. 3 interceptions. Once again, his third 3-interception game in the last 5 for UGA.
You can argue if they had Alex Orji as their starting quarterback for Georgia, they would be perfect and unbeaten right now just by not turning the football over and running it with your talented backfield.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
So tonight in the NBA, Cleveland, of course, Carver High, is undefeated, and they're taking their 11-0 to the United Center in Chicago to take on the 4-6 Bulls, who've been tough to bet on. You bet on them, you lose money.
You certainly do. Of course, the Cavs over the weekend, Scotty, they destroyed the Warriors on Friday night at home, and they actually had like a little bit of a push from the Nets on Saturday, but they did end up winning that game by 5. Tonight, they do have the Bulls. This number now at 8.5 for the Cavs on the road in Chicago, 236.5 the total.
Yeah, I mean, that number is brutal, but I still got to, do it. I got to go for it with them. They're so much better than advertised and the Bulls. You know what I mean? Like, I've already tried the Bulls, with Minnesota last week. How'd that go? They were winning the game, the whole game, and then they still got whacked and didn't cover. So if Minnesota beats the crap out of them, what do you think Cleveland's going to do to them?
I agree. I would be on the Cavs tonight on the road. The Bulls suck. It's just that simple for me. The Wizards are in Houston against the Rockets. Rockets out to a nice 6-4 start. 12.5, though, a very big number for them tonight. 229.5 the total.
I mean, that spells blowout to me tonight in the Toyota Center, to be honest with you. I saw, Şengün look great yesterday, and Jalen Green with tomahawk dunks in the paint that were just ferocious, man. My man can absolutely get up.
He absolutely can get up. He's been excellent for them, indeed. The Nets, who have been a little spunky, are in New Orleans tonight against the Pelicans, who stink. They're 3-7. And now tonight, no Zion, no Herb Jones, no McCollum, no DeJounte Murray, no nobody. The Nets are a 1.5 favorite at the Pelicans tonight. How about that?
I've been watching them play, and believe it or not, like I watched their game against the Celtics. I watched their game against the Cavs. They look good. I'll take them tonight in New Orleans, and I think they'll win that game going away.
Yeah, they lost that game in overtime to the Celtics on Friday night. They played very well. Very rare anyone plays well in Boston, and the Nets did that on Friday night. The Clippers are in OKC against the Thunder. Thunder minus 6.5, 218.5 the total.
I think that's Shai Gilgeous and an easy win for the Thunder. I know Holmgren's gone, but it is what it is. They're still loaded with talent and speed and size without him. They can still win without him.
And the Kings are in San Antonio against the Spurs. Kings minus 1.5, 221.5 the total.
I think Sabonis is too physical. Obviously, Wembanyama blocks shots and does whatever he wants, but Sabonis is going to get his. He's another guy, double-double, triple-double machine. I like the Kings here with DeRozan, Fox, Monk. I mean, this team, Barnes, they're the deal. They mean business. I think they win tonight easily.
There you go. That's tonight's NBA. Tomorrow on Coast to Coast, of course, tomorrow night, the NBA Cup group play begins tomorrow night. So the NBA will get you all jazzed up about that, including that Clay return to the chase to see the Warriors.
Exciting.
So that's tomorrow night as well with that. All right, college rack now. Kansas stays at number 1 in today's top 25. Bama, UConn, Gonzaga, and Auburn. Auburn beat Houston, of course, the other night over the weekend. And that was after, did you see that story how they turned the plane around?
Yeah.
They were fighting on the plane, and yet they still got the W there against Houston. So nice job by Auburn over the weekend. It wasn't a great weekend for Florida Gators coach Todd Golden, as he's facing Title IX stalking allegations. A big story in the student paper there over the weekend. Not good for Todd.
He's threatening to sue everybody for defamation. He says all of it's lies and that he has stalked no one and sexually harassed no one. And he's going to sue everybody. Who do you believe?
Well, clearly, and the school obviously is siding with him for now because he'll be coaching the team tonight against Grambling. So the school's not, putting him on leave or saying, let's figure this out. The school says business as usual as Grambling will face Florida tonight. McNeese is playing Bama.
I don't understand. Who's he stalking? Is he not married or something? Does he not have a wife? Is he stalking some college chick? What is happening here?
You got to go through there's a litany of stuff in that story that the Gator put out. You got to go and read the entire thing. Bottom line is he's listen, he obviously the school's standing behind him. So there it is, Grambling in Florida tonight. They're laying a big piece at home, 24.5. Rutgers is playing St. Pete's, and Iowa State a fat number as well against Kansas City, Kansas City.
Yeah, look, those are easy wins for all of them, to be honest with you. I think the one game that I wouldn't bet on, believe it, is Florida at 24.5. Their coach is stressed out. He's probably backed up. He's got problems. And that might deter the focus a little bit from the covering that 25 piece. So I'd either stay away from it or I might take a shot with Grambling. But I like the others. I like Bama, Rutgers, and Iowa State. I like Dylan Harper.
Texas A&M.
Rutgers in New Jersey, though, based on religious reasons, as you know.
You're not allowed to do that. Texas A&M's playing tonight. Purdue's playing. Marquette's playing. UCLA's playing. Late night Pacific and Hawaii as well. So you have a lot of late night options. And I'll just tell you this, too, before you give these. Go ahead. Give me who you like first.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, obviously, I like A&M, Purdue, Marquette, UCLA, and Hawaii. But look, that number with Pacific is intriguing to me, to be honest with you. And is the number too fat for Marquette and UCLA? Yeah. That's the question. Those are giant numbers. I don't know if Lamar hangs with A&M either.
Tomorrow, good doubleheader in college rack in Atlanta. Kansas, Michigan State, and Duke, Kentucky. Doubleheader in Atlanta at State Farm. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. Nice college basketball.
So I like
early
Cooper
season
Flag,
double dip.
And then I bet on North Carolina, as you remember the other night, and they covered against Kansas. What a great game at Fog Island. They get every call. I still think Kansas beats Michigan State, and I like Duke.
I'll give you the hockey in leftovers.
Everybody loves hockey.
together, both Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, it's going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid, Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
A lot of concern, I would say, for Georgia in Carson Beck. 3 interceptions once again. His third 3-interception game in the last 5 for UGA.
You can argue if they had Alex Orji as their starting quarterback for Georgia, they would be perfect and unbeaten right now just by not turning the football over and running it with your talented backfield.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
There was a Veterans Day, hoorah, soldier, hoorah, game today in the NHL, Mike. Everybody loves hockey.
There was one matinee on Veterans Day in Buffalo. The Canadians beat the Sabres 7-5. Good game if you had the over, that's for sure. Next, let's get to tonight's games. The Sharks are in Philadelphia against the Flyers. Now, you mentioned week-long trip on the coast. They were in Jersey last night. They're in Philly tonight. They go back to play the Rangers at the Garden, then back to Pittsburgh to see the Penguins on Saturday. I mean, they couldn't keep them in New York for the Ranger-Devil games and then send them to Pennsylvania, but ring up the travel bill. Why not? Minus 255 for the Flyers.
They're going to Pittsburgh and then going back to New York to face the Islanders and Devils?
No,
they already played the Devils last night.
Devils in Jersey. Now, I guess they could just bus them, right? Take the bus down to Philly tonight, bus them back to the hotel to play the Rangers then, and then fly to Pittsburgh to take on the Penguins at the end of the week.
Look,
so.
They're playing good hockey, so they won 5 of 7. And the only thing I have is that they're playing a lot, so they played last night, so you would think it'd be the Flyers, but I'm going to take a stab with the Sharks the way they're playing, that they do it again tonight.
It is hockey night in Pittsburgh at the PPG as well. Dallas is in town to see the Penguins. Dallas, of course, the road favorite, minus 160 with a 6.5.
I mean, this is stars, puck line, money line. I mean, you need a drink to go to that one. They're going to get smoked, I would think. They stink. So I'm going to go see them play the Sharks Saturday night for $400.
Kings are in Calgary against the Flames. Kings have been pretty good. They're 9-4-3, and they're favorites on the road here, minus $1.34.
God, I want to take LA, but I like the Flames at Saddledome.
Nashville and Colorado both not out of the gates that great. Avalanche minus 130 at home tonight, was 155, down to 130 here against the Preds.
I like the Avs at the ball.
Good one on the Strip as Carolina, 10-3 start, is in Vegas against the Knights. Carolina, the road favorite, minus $1.45.
I love the Knights at home, $1.26. They're really good at home at the T-Mobile on the Strip. It's the road they've had problems on. They finally broke that ice the other night, Friday night, whatever it was.
There you go with the hockey for tonight. Here's the rest that I have for you. Juan Soto and Scott Boras are going to start their meetings next week. They are going to meet with Steve Cohen of the Mets. Hal Steinbrenner, who will have Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone with him, they will meet with Juan Soto as well next week out in California. The Marlins are hiring Dodgers first base coach Clayton McCullough. Who? As their new manager. Austin Eckroat won the Worldwide Technology Championship in Mexico over the weekend. Very unfortunate for me and Cam. And this Lamont Roach is gunning to knock out Gervonta Davis. And then he wants Shakur Stevenson next. Can he knock out Davis first?
No.
Before he fights Shakur?
No.
I mean, can we get through one before we go after the other?
He's going to get knocked out. Is what's going to happen there. And, that fight's like in Houston or something. Why wouldn't that fight be in Vegas? Because nobody cares about it. Nothing like leftovers on a Monday. You got to love it. It's time for the Ferrall finish. Wander Franco arrested in the DR in the Dominican Republic after an altercation during which guns were drawn in a parking lot. He was out on bail as he waits his trial for sexually abusing a 14-year-old, allegedly. This guy's life is over one way or the other, either in that trial or someone's going to kill him. Why is this guy always in trouble? It's unbelievable because he must be an idiot. Man traps an 18-year-old in an Alaska Airlines window seat and gropes her. What is happening on the Jerry Garcia flight? Have you ever seen the guy on the back of the wings of the Alaska Airlines? It's Jerry Garcia. New York bans the sale of caffeine-infused cannabis. Can I get a coffee buzz while I'm smoking my chronic, please, and you stay out of it? Ape bites a Cincinnati zoo worker's thumb off at feeding time. It bit her thumb off. It's just kidding. I would have paid to see that, honestly. $400 for a hockey game. I'd rather see the chick get her thumb bit off. Customer shoots a cashier dead in an argument over if the cook was wearing gloves while making his pizza. Guy was very angry. He pulled out a 9-Glock and started shooting people at the pizza parlor. GTD is next. Go to FerrallOnEvents.com for everything else. We'll see you tomorrow at 3 on Coast to Coast.
The Seahawks, I expected a bounce back after that poor performance against Buffalo the week before. They took the Rams right down to the wire.
The Cardinals are the top spot at the moment. That's not going to hold. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are not going to win this division, but they are 5-4. After that, you've got the Rams, the Niners, each 4-4. The Niners, God willing, man. I mean, if Christian McCaffrey ever does come back.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Are they definitely done with Daniel Jones from this point? And any shot that Dable is off the sidelines, meaning he gets fired before next season?
They have a general manager in Joe Shane. Every big move has to get approval by ownership. So look, the bottom line is they don't know who their future quarterback is past this season. Tommy DeVito's clearly not the answer. They don't have Drew Lock's not the answer.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
A lot of concern, I would say, for Georgia and Carson Beck. 3 interceptions once again. His third 3-interception game in the last 5 for UGA.
You can argue if they had Alex Orji as their starting quarterback for Georgia, they would be perfect and unbeaten right now just by not turning the football over and running it with your talented backfield.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.